Hello everyone. Welcome to this video classroom of Odisha State Open University. I am Dr. Ratnakar Rai, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science. Today we will be discussing about a person who is known as the father of the nation, who is now regarded as the particular individual responsible for the conciliation of conflict in the society. The acceptable principle of settling the conflict in the world is non-violence, and the particular individual who has become the main advocate of the theory is no one but Gandhiji. And we'll be discussing about Gandhiji, his concept of Swaraj, Swadeshi, Sarvodaya, Satyagraha, and the relationship between ethics and politics are ends and means. And this is a part of Indian political ideas, and this is not only confined to Indian political ideas, rather it is a global view on the conflict resolution process, a process through which we can have a Gandhian way of life, we can have a spiritual salvation of our life. And first of all, I will take you to the concept of Gandhi's concept of Swaraj and Swadeshi. And Swaraj means the freedom of the individual or the freedom of the nation. And in this context, I can say that freedom doesn't mean the complete isolation from others. Rather, freedom is totally the policy of inclusion. And now the policy of inclusion is very much stressed in the age of alienation, in the age where we have Marxian theory of alienation, we have the principles of social exclusion, and inclusive policy is of great importance, and that policy was greatly stressed in the Gandhian concept of Swaraj. And Gandhi is regarded as the man who has pictured this concept of Swaraj as self-rule. And this concept of self-rule is nothing but a moral agent for the transformation of society. And Gandhi can be given more stress because he is different from the Western political thinkers like J.S. Mill, who is famous for his concept of negative liberty. And negative liberty, negative freedom, that is the absence of restraint. But Gandhiji is giving stress on the positive restraint, which is a topic of the present day world. When we think of freedom, we must prefer a rational restraint, legal restraint over it. Otherwise, freedom will be a license, losing its practical fragrance. And for the realization of the concept of Swaraj, we can have the concept of Swadeshi, we can have the concept of Sarvodaya, and these are the means through which we can attain the goal of Swaraj. And Gandhian brand of Swaraj is known as Hind Swaraj. Gandhi's concept of Swaraj has its political meaning, and that is giving stress on self-rule and self-control. Self-control is possible only through purification. Self-purification can have can generate the idea of self-esteem. And self-esteem is the essential ingredient of demanding for freedom, essential ingredient of demanding for freedom from the colonial rulers, which was made possible only after the non-cooperation movement of 1920. And in this regard, I can also say the Swaraj is a fruit of patience. Swaraj is a fruit of enduring diligence. Swaraj is a fruit of courage. Swaraj is a fruit of perseverance. Without patience, without perseverance, without diligence, without courage, without intelligent appreciation of nature, it is not possible to attain the goal of Swaraj. And Swaraj is a sacred word, and it has its root in the Vedic culture. And this Vedic culture implies that self-rule, self-restraint, and freedom for all. Because what we want, that not only a freedom for the particular individual, that freedom must have a societal meaning. Freedom at A must be designed by the freedoms demanded by individuals from B to Z, as pointed out the modern political thinkers like Marx. We can say that Swaraj is nothing but the concept through which we can attain the complete independence from the British rule, Purna Swaraj, a resolution which was passed in the civil disobedience movement during the civil disobedience movement of 1930. We did not want the dominion status. Coming back from the dominion status, we demanded Purna Swaraj, and resolution was passed, and the first Independence Day was celebrated on the basis of the Lahore Congress resolution taken on 31st December 1929, and the celebration of first Independence Day was 26th January 1930. And to commemorate that particular day, 26th January 1930, to commemorate that particular day, 26th January, our constitution was implemented on 26th January 1950, although it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949. The analysis of the Indian preamble and the appreciation of the particular concept of why the preamble, why the Constitution of India was put into operation on 26 January 1950, although there is a gap of 2 months between the date of adoption and date of implementation of the Constitution. Hind Swaraj is a concept where we can have every village must be a republic. And republic means the head of the administration. The head of the state must be an elected one, not chosen on the basis of heredity. And Gandhiji wanted the soul of India lies in the villages. Therefore, every village must be a republic. The head of the village administration must be elected or selected by the people and not to be chosen on the basis of heredity. Every village must be self-reliant, and for that he outlined the concept of Swadeshi. Swadeshi is a technique through which we can have the feeling of self-reliance. We cannot depend, or we should not depend upon others. If we will depend upon others, if we are not self-reliant, if we cannot fulfill our basic needs by ourselves, by our own efforts, then we will have to depend upon others, and thereby we sell our freedom. And for that reason, he wanted that Swadeshi. And during the non-cooperation movement, when we will non-cooperate the British, we will boycott the British goods, we will boycott the British institutions. We must have the Swadeshi principle to have our institution and have goods produced in our own land to fulfill our own demands. And Swadeshi, this concept of Swadeshi that has an economic dimension, that has a political dimension, that has a social dimension. Its economic dimension points out that we will be free from the foreign goods. We will not depend upon the foreign goods, and thereby the colonialism will be allowed to spread over the colonies. And political dimension is that we must have faith on the indigenous political institutions. Village republic, it is an indigenous institution. Rural level, at the rural level, grassroots level, we have those organizations, and traditionally those Sabha, Samiti in the Vedic period, these organizations were there. It is there in our cultural process. And for that reason, we can say that these indigenous institutions must be revived. And the social dimension is the Varna system. The Varna system must be welcomed. And for that reason, when the Varna system, all the Varnas, they are of equal importance. Brahmana, they are to do a particular, Brahmins, they are to do a particular job. Kshatriyas, they are to do a particular job. Sudras, they are to do a particular job. Vaishyas, they are to do a particular job. There is classification of jobs, classification of works to be, or the performance of duty was given importance, not the rigid class distinctions leading to class conflicts. And we can also say that Sarvodaya is also a principle through which we can purify the intentions of the individual. The intentions of the individual must be purified. We have analyzed in the Western philosophy, in the philosophy of James Mill, or we can have the Bentham's political philosophy, utilitarianism. Greatest good of greatest number. But this concept of greatest good of greatest number has been shifted, has been switched over or superseded by the concept of Sarvodaya adopted by or propagated by Gandhiji. We want all the individuals, the last man in the row, he must be uplifted. And this was the view of Vinoba Bhave, that when the last man in the row will be benefited, that will be perfect realization of the goal of Sarvodaya will be made possible. And we can also say the concept of Satya, Ahimsa, these are the means through which we can achieve the goal of Sarvodaya. And Satya, Ahimsa, the integration says that Satyagraha. And Satyagraha is the principle through which we can achieve the goal of Swaraj, through which we can achieve the goal of Sarvodaya, and Sarvodaya cannot be achieved without the adoption of the principles, the path paved by Satyagraha. If we will be deviated from that, we cannot achieve the goal. And in this regard, we can also say that Gandhi's concept of Sarvodaya is again extension of the concept of Huxley's concept of live and let live. This is a modern concept of Huxley, live and let live. And Gandhiji's concept of Sarvodaya has added a new glamour to it by saying that live to help others live. And we can also say that Sarvodaya is a principle where there is equality, there is liberty, there is justice for all. And belief of God is there. And God is manifestation of all human values. Gandhiji was a propagator of the concept that truth and non-violence are my God. In his biography, autobiography, he has written that truth and non-violence are my God. And if we cherish the ideal of Gandhiji, if you can adopt the principle of non-violence, then we can go for a peaceful conciliation of conflicts in the society. Conflict resolution is a very important aspect of modern society, and conflict resolution is accepted by the modern society as a challenge to the human existence. And this challenge can be faced with Gandhian mode, and that is Gandhian mode of non-violence, Gandhian mode of accommodation, Gandhian mode of the relationship between ends and means. Means should be good to attain a good end. For the realization of the principles of Satyagraha, there are certain techniques, and the techniques are the techniques of non-cooperation, hartal, civil disobedience, hijarat, fasting, strike, etc. Hijarat is a very important concept. In day-to-day life, we should adopt in our family life to avoid the domestic violence. The conflict between the husband and wife, conflict between within the members of the family, we can adopt the policy of hijarat. Gandhian principle. Hijarat means the voluntary exile from one permanent place of habitation. If there is a conflict, if one people feel oppressed, if he will feel that he is disrespected, he is undignified, then he can quit the place. Civil disobedience, that is the silent revolution against the laws made by the authorities. The non-violent, peaceful, in a non-violent and peaceful manner, we should go for opposition of that. And non-cooperation has a negative and positive side. We should non-cooperate to achieve the goal of Swaraj, and to non-cooperate means we will have to, in a positive way, we should have the policy of Swadeshi, to overcome the difficulties caused due to boycott. Ethics and politics are not to be diverse from each other, which was there in the philosophy of Machiavelli, in the Western philosophy of Machiavelli, in the modern philosophy, Indian philosophy of Kautilya. But in the Gandhian principle, we find an integral relationship between ethics and politics. And if they will be diverse, then politics will lose its meaning. Politics will be biased from the human values, and it will lose its efficacy. And with this, we say Gandhi is dead, no doubt, but Gandhian principles are still alive. And that will be alive as long as the human society is there. Human society is running after peace. Human society is looking for republic everywhere. The human society is looking for the cultivation of all human values, for the spread of love, affection, tranquility, peace, cooperation, sympathy, etc. Thank you all.